Still unaware of what it is, something moves without ever touching the ground. This is Gastly. Unstable by nature, it ripples like a wandering thought, a body made almost entirely of gas. Little by little, the young Gastly begins to release its toxic fumes. At first, they are only trials, the earliest signs of a power that will one day command the shadows. But the forest, in daylight, does not accept it. The light exposes it. Gastly clings to shadows, eaves, corners, places where the air cannot scatter its form. When night finally falls, Gastly breathes with relief. Free from glare and wind, it drifts in silence, searching for a permanent refuge. Abandoned mansions deep within the forest are ideal. Ancient wood, corridors that hold echoes, rooms sealed from the outside light. Here, beneath roof and darkness, a Gastly can grow. Now, within its refuge, Gastly sets the rhythm. Small intruders appear. Gastly surrounds them in a veil of gas, not as an attack, but as a warning. It feeds on fear and finds amusement in it as well. Within these walls, Gastly senses everything that happens. Not even other small ghost Pokémon are beyond its reach. As its power grows, it takes pleasure in driving intruders away. Within its territory, its power only grows, and the shadows are its allies. Gastly guards the house, and the house guards Gastly. And once enough experience has been gathered, it takes another step into the shadows. Haunter emerges. Newly evolved, Haunter explores his new powers. His long tongue, formed of gas, adapts to any surface, immensely powerful in combat and just as effective for playful scares. Haunter tests his limits. Strengthened by the shadows, he begins to move objects with effortless ease. His power is devastating, and he revels in it. With his new power, Haunter is certain his home will remain secure. Over time, the house attracts more unwanted visitors. Haunter makes a point of playing with the intruders. As he cements his dominance, his pranks keep the days entertaining. And, of course, the fear of other Pokémon becomes his nourishment. When small, unsuspecting intruders step into Haunter's territory, he turns the incursion into a laboratory. Fear grows in silence, and at its peak, he locks onto his target with mean look, sealing every escape route. Between calculated scares and newly learned strikes, in all his existence, few moments bring him as much pleasure as this. Among his favorite tricks is frightening trainers who use the house as shelter. Haunter watches in silence, patient, measuring every step. He waits for the perfect opening. When someone is left alone, the performance begins. The perfect timing of his scares is born from experience. Haunter conducts the tension like a maestro, cueing entrances, controlling pauses, deciding the climax. Here, he commands the show. Humans are merely pieces upon his stage. Years of scares and battles against intruders, all to protect his territory. Through the accumulation of countless experiences, Haunter's creativity grows far beyond that stage. The moment arrives. He becomes Gengar, master of mischief and bearer of overwhelming strength. Gengar commands the shadows as if they were extensions of his own body. Even he never imagined he could become this powerful. With absolute command over the shadows, he becomes the Lord of the Night. In darkness, Gengar is an unrelenting predator, and like his predecessor, he still delights in playing with his prey. Now strong enough to protect the lands surrounding his home, he stalks in silence, patiently tracking his target. At the perfect moment, he locks eyes and tests his new power. a hypnosis that pulls the victim into near-instant sleep. Then comes Gengar's silent feast. He dives into dreams, sows nightmares, and discreetly feeds on the intruder's vital energy. By morning, the target awakens exhausted and disoriented, memory gone, and wanders away. And so the years pass, sometimes decades, protecting the territory, frightening trainers, accumulating strength and experience. Every scare sharpens his creativity. Every victory makes him more dangerous. With each encounter, he feeds more deeply on what fear leaves behind. But time, which amplifies power, also deepens solitude. But one night, when the stories of this house have already spread from mouth to mouth, a researcher, almost a legend herself, decides to cross its threshold. Gengar immediately begins his tricks. She does not retreat. She watches, patient, as if anticipating every move. Intrigued, Gengar feels something he has never known. She remains steady, a faint smile on her face, as one who understands the language of ghosts. He attempts one final scare and is met only with understanding. For the first time in years, Gengar hesitates. Could this be, at last, the end of solitude? A bond is formed, one that will endure across generations. Before, Gengar existed to protect only himself and the house he claimed as home. Now, beside his companions, he crosses forest paths and ancient cities, studies marks carved into old walls, listens to stories carried by the wind. He assists in research on ghost-type Pokémon, tests hypotheses, uncovers clues, and discovers a world he once observed only through narrow cracks. But make no mistake, he has not abandoned battle. When it is time to fight, all the experience accumulated over years rises to the surface. Precision, deception, mastery of shadows. This partnership, refined day after day, has elevated his devoted researcher to the rank of Kanto's Elite Four. Gengar is no longer alone. Wherever she walks, he is a constant presence, and together, legend and science move forward, side by side. What other mysteries still surround this Pokémon? What other paths could it have taken? Stay tuned for the next episodes to discover more details about these incredible creatures.